I am PK sir. So today I am going to upload this video lessons for gist of this chapter, the three orders. Subject history. Okay. So the first point is the cathedral towns. Actually, I have told you that due to the agricultural invention, technological invention, and many more factors like the environment, people earned the money or currencies and a new group originated, fourth orders, who were living in the towns. So from 12th century onwards, large churches were built and people generally spent the money in here, and this kind of large churches were known as the cathedrals, basically in the France. And these kind of churches actually belong to the monasteries. It was built in stone. It was taking a long times. After completing the churches, it becomes it became the most populated and centers of the pilgrimage. And around it, small town develops. Okay, generally in the cathedrals, stained glasses were used for the windows, and during the day of the sunlight, as you all know, that it make them radiant, and after the sunset, the light of candles would make them for what? For the common people, visible to the people outside. And this kind of stained glasses were used to narrate the stories in the Bibles through pictures, right? So some of them become very famous, like Saint Benedict in Italy 529 and Cluny in Burgundy 910. So it was about the cathedrals towns. Now, the crisis of the 14th centuries. What was the crisis of the 14th centuries? We have learned that development started, or there was no problems regarding the food scarcities as agricultural inventions and Europe entered in the warm phases. So where the problems? Actually, European economical expansion slowed down, and three factors were there. Point number one, as you all know, the northern Europe area, especially German, Greenland. By the end of the 13th century, I mean to say 1299, the warm summers, which was started, I think, from 11th or 9th centuries, and it was continued up to 13th centuries, had given way to bitterly cold summer. Again, cold summer started. So definitely seasons for growing crops were reduced by a month, or you can say that years. So this is the first problem. Point number two, because of this, trade was generally very hit by a severe shortage of the metal money. Why? Because of the shortfall in the output of the silver mines in Austria and Serbia. So generally, government forced to reduce the silver content of the currency, and it had to mix with cheaper metals. This is the second problem. Point number three, which ships were carrying goods from the distant countries? Generally, they started arriving in the European ports, and this ship came with rat carrying deadly bubonic plague infections. This is the biggest problem, which was started in the 14th centuries, and almost the population of the Europe reduced by half. There was 40 million population in the whole Europe, and after this Black Death, 1358 may be the Black Death. So almost 20 million people died. So these are or were three reasons the for the crisis in the 14th centuries. Followed? Next, political change. So definitely these kind of problems arising in the 14th century, political changes we have seen in the 15th and 16th centuries. European kings, especially in England and France, strengthened their military and the financial power because as money flows, currency flows, so there was no shortage. So they strengthened the military powers and the financial powers. Point number two, the new monarchical kingdom in the France, Louis XI, Maximilian in the Austria, Henry VII in the England, and Isabella and Ferdinando in Spain. They started the despotic rules. Despotic means absolute rules. Okay, and they organized the standing army, giving them the guns and gunpowders also, and it made them very very powerful. Second point, these changes we have seen, that means which power was in the nobility or the second estate and the clergy, this power shifted from 15th to 16th centuries from the second estate and first estate to the king. Point number three, feudalism declines more or less, and lordships in the 16th centuries paved the way for the rise of nation state in Europe. That means first estate, second estate, and third estate, which was almost ended in the Europe, not in the France. Okay, but from the 16th century onwards, the concept of the nation state emerged, like the Britain. France, German, Russia revolution took place, as you all know, that 1789, 1917 and 1848 also. This kind of revolution inspired the millions of the people across the globe, and it gave a rich legacy of the liberty, equality and the fraternity. So this kind of political changes started from the 15th century onwards. Point number one, despotic rule started. Point number two, new monarchies strengthened their power through by military, organizing the military and financial power. Point number three, feudalism declined. Lordship in the 16th centuries, paved the or created the way for the rise of the nation state. Understood? Now we will talk about the fourth order. We know the first order. Now, who were known as the fourth order? Actually, expansion in the agriculture. It was created and accompanied by the growth of three related areas. Point number one, population increase. Point number two, trading also increase. And due to the tradings and the population, towns also automatically grew in numerous number. Basically, during the Roman Empire, as you all know, that the towns of the Roman Empire actually had become deserted and ruins. But from the 11th century, again, as agriculture increased and became able to sustain the more population, so that's why towns began to grow. Why towns began to grow? Because suppose they were using the iron belt or iron strip, plow. So for making that kind of plow, or food grain seeds, so it requires a places. So generally fairs were were organized in some places, so people were coming out to buy and sell the products. So in this way, day by day, on the basis of the fair, on the basis of the requirements of the goods, towns grew. Followed? Point number three, towns offered the prospect of the paid work, definitely, and freedom from the Lord's controls. So what are the freedom from the Lord's control? Actually, it was in that time, it was a rule that suppose I am a serf or I am a slave, but if I will able to hide from my Lord's control for 1 year in the towns, then I will be free from the serfdom. So generally, most of the towns in the Europe, this kind of free serf or free laborers we can find out. Okay. Even so, in the towns we have seen traders, businessmen, merchants, lawyers, free serf, paid work or daily wages workers. They were available in the towns. They were building, organizing these kind of towns, right? So this group of people were regarded by the historian as the fourth order. Followed? And in that time, some towns were bigger, more or less 30% populations. You can say that. Now the last point, guild. What is guild? Guild actually it is a business association group to control the policy of the business overseas and inland, or for the market control policies, or the prices of the goods. So different kind of works they were doing. So that's what this kind of organizations we have found in the every European town, right? Quality of the product you can, they control the prices and the selling items also. So every town we have found the guild hall. It was a building for ceremonial function, and they organize different kind of festivals also. Okay, so this was the guild. Basically it was the business associations or the organizations. Alright, so I hope, and definitely if you have further more problems you can call me or you have my WhatsApp number. Okay, so I am ending this short video lessons, and best of luck for the midterm examinations. Thank you very much.